Welcome, family, to the Kumi Valdez podcast. I am Daniel Price, and this is my co-host, Dr. Kish Kumi Price. Today, we want to talk about marriage wellness. So we're going to dive into it. We'll start off with you. Let me start off.
Go ahead. You go for it.
For a change. Let me start off for a change. Okay. So one of the things we want to talk about is just like some of the different ways to have wellness within your marriage. And it's some of the things that we have experienced in our marriage, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you all have experienced this as well in your marriage and your relationships, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're single, you probably experience some of this stuff in the dating world. So one of the things I want to start off talking about is not overanalyzing every single thing. So that's what I kind of want to talk about from the beginning. So it's things like, for me, it would be examples for me, like if I want to do something or you want to do something and, but the other person doesn't want to do it, then, you kind of start thinking, overanalyzing things then, like, what's the issue? What's the problem? Why is it always an issue when I want to do something, but I do everything that you do, that you want to do. And so those are the things that I'm kind of talking about, like not overanalyzing everything.
That's a good one to start with. And I am an analyst. So, hi, I'm Kish. I'm an analyst.
Right.
No, but I will say that I struggle with that. It's funny that you mentioned dating. My sister and my mom still joke about this to this day that I like, and this was in high school, I guess, going into college. But like I was dating somebody. I broke up with him because I didn't like the way he walked up the stairs. What? I was like, why is he walking up the stairs like that? And it was just like, oh no, like I can't do it. Cannot do it. And I'm saying that because I know that sounds weird, but I think sometimes it's it could just be you, but it also could be sometimes it's like redirecting you because it could be a good thing, right? Like obviously I wasn't supposed to, be with that person. But was it really about him walking up the stairs? Probably not, right? But I will say this too. So I've been in the dating world a couple of times. So post divorce, before I met Daniel, I remember I was very I don't know if people can relate to this, but basically when you've been living on your own for a while and you've, been living independently, shared space becomes weird. So you can overanalyze in that regard as well. And, I remember seeing a post recently just about single women and how, anything can set you off where you're just like, nah, I can't do it. You're sitting on too much of the couch right now. Like, I can't do it, but in marriage, I will say that too. I'm going to fast forward real quick to marriage. So, I think in our early stages, like getting to know each other, we were getting to know each other. We talked about the fact that we got married after dating for only 72 days, which is weird to a lot of people. But even if you've been dating for, and engaged for 5 years, you're always getting to know your partner. I don't care how long you've been married or dating. But a lot of times we are seeing the other person through a filter, and that filter may not be, just what it should be, what we see as authenticity, right? Truly seeing the other person. But sometimes we do have those filters, and that can really take you, to another place, and you're seeing things that aren't real, but that's how you are viewing it. So
yeah, well, I definitely got to watch how I walk up the stairs because
I like how
being an athlete, my knees ache sometimes. So I be having to walk up the stairs a little sideways or down the stairs sideways because my knees be aching. And the athletes know what I'm talking about. So athletes know what I'm talking about. They know when sometimes you got to walk down sideways a little bit, man. I got to watch how I walk down the stairs around you. God, dog. If that's a man, if that's a prerequisite, God, what have I been doing for the last 5 years? Shoot, man,
hilarious.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah,
Don't
good.
analyze me.
You're
Don't
good.
analyze me.
You're good.
Yeah, so you know, one of the next points that I want to talk about. Well, let me touch on what you just said about us getting to know each other and seeing the other person from a different lens. Um, it's easy for when you first started dating someone, everybody tries to put on their good face, their good mask, and be what you think the other person wants from you.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
so for me, it wasn't that way at all for me.
Not at all.
It wasn't that way.
No.
So what you saw was what you saw and what you was gonna get. You know, so I felt like I always felt like showing you who I am and letting you make the choice, whether you want to date me or be with me or whatever, and not taking that choice away from you. So I didn't want to, put forth this person that's not really who I am, and trying to live up to an expectation that I believe that you might want,
Yeah.
and me analyzing, okay, this is your personality, this is her personality, so let me play up to that personality. And so that wasn't me at all. I was just like, man,
Yeah.
this is who I am. You either gonna like me or not.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people fall into that category when they're dating. That okay, this is this person's personality, so let me play up to that so that I can get the person to like me.
Yeah.
And I was just like totally the opposite of all of that.
Well, to be honest, I think, and I appreciated that, because I mean that whole, saying real, recognize real. Like I could tell that it was not a front, that you were authentically showing up, and I think that could be a good reason why you see a lot of failed relationships is because of that. So, I'm glad you brought that up. But it's just like I think when you pull back, it's almost like it's a desire to be booed up, and you basically take that desire and prioritize it over your desire to be loved. Like how can somebody authentically love you if they never see the real you?
Right.
If you're constantly trying to blend in and be flexible and be in their mold. I mean, it's just you're never at some point you're gonna have to drop the act.
Right.
You're gonna be who you really are, and then that's when it's like, oh, we can irreconcilable differences, or you know what I mean? It's like, well, y'all had that from the start. If you would have shown up authentically, right?
Right.
And I will say this, right? I could be off on this, so cast your stones if you like. But I feel like it happens on both ends. It happens with women and men. I mean, I'm thinking about Coming to America and whatever you like, whatever you like. Like I know women can do that, but I see it a lot more in men, and maybe it's because I'm a woman, but can you share your thoughts on how you came to the point of realizing that you needed to show up authentically? Like, were you always there, or was that something you saw? Like, did you notice that in other, your friends, or?
Well, one of the things for me is I just never wanted to take anybody's choice away. So that is one thing that I've always stuck to within my life, because I don't want anybody taking my choices away. So
what do you mean by that?
What I'm saying is, like, if it's something about you, I want you to show up as you are.
Right.
And if it's something about you that I don't like, I want the ability to make the choice whether I want to deal with it or not deal with it.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing. For me, that's how I am when it came to you. I was just like, look, You know, you're either gonna like me or you're not. You're either gonna love me or you're not. You know, and I want you to see the good, the bad, the ugly. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to put on this front for you. Like we said in the first podcast, I showed up. I showed up in my basketball stuff. Like I'm getting ready to go do workouts. I'm showing up on our first date, man, in my basketball shorts and
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because like if you rewind to what we just said about overanalyzing, in my former self, I could have taken a lot of that, overthinking and placed that onto that particular situation. Like, okay, you asked me to meet. You said you wanted to go on this lunch date.
Right.
If I have in my mind a certain expectation for how he was supposed to show up, right? And obviously I did kind of, because I was like, oh, okay, he's in this. But if I've, looked at that and was like, nah, like you didn't show up in the way that I thought you should have shown up
right.
to meet me. This is our first real in-person time together. I could have crossed him off the list,
right, and not knowing that I had stuff to do. Like I'm traveling, so I'm traveling to I traveled an hour to to see you, and then I'm traveling back, but as soon as I get back I have workouts to do.
Okay. I'm so glad you just said that, because this brings us to the Cheesecake Factory situation. Okay, right. What the reason why I'm bringing this up? I probably shouldn't be bringing this up, but the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, if you hear the sacrifice that he just said, okay, so he drove an hour to meet me, right? So that's gas, right? That's time, and knowing he was going to have to drive right back in another hour, but
and then go right into doing workouts and doing my job. So I was just like, I need to be comfortable, and I'm not going to have time to go back and change clothes and do all this other stuff. So
right. And that's how he's very, practical, which I love. But I really hate the fact that there's so many women who have, I don't know where it's come from. I don't know where you've gotten, this training, if you will, about how a man is supposed to show up for you or what his obligations are to you while dating. Right. We're not talking about marriage.
Not dating.
We're talking about
first date.
Yeah, first date. Okay. First not date. Even a series. This is the first date.
First date.
I really want to, I'm talking to the sisters right now, like sisters, really be in a place of reflection about what it is that you expect, right? Because I understand that you have high standards. Some of you have very high standards. We should, right? You want the highest of standards is about how you're being treated, right? That you're being valued, you're being respected, you're being loved and appreciated, acknowledged, seen, all of that, and protected. Like women want to feel safe, right? But you also want a man who understands practically how to manage finances, right? Like you don't want somebody who's like, oh, I'm about to go all out, ball out on you for this date to impress you, and then you're struggling after that. Like that's not the way.
There's nowhere to go from there. It's literally nowhere to go from there. And I like, you see this stuff all over social media about these women and their list of places. You can't take me, I can't go here, and you can't take me here, and you need to be spending this amount of money on a date. And I'm just like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
I don't even know you. Like, seriously, man, I don't know you.
Right.
Like, what? Why would I spend insanely amounts of money just to take you on a first date?
Yeah. And then what does that mean for, as you said, where does it go from there? So does that mean that now I've fallen for you because you did that? And, now I'm expecting that on a regular basis. If we decide to get married, if you're able to keep up with that, and then we get married and then that falls off.
No one's except for the 1%. Is going to be able to keep up with that.
Exactly.
Only the 1% of America, the rich, will be able to like consistently keep up with.
And then if you're in that relationship, I still think there's doubt about why are you with me?
Why
Are you with me because of what I can give you?
Right.
In terms of, I don't know, just the materialistic
stuff. So,
or are you with me because you actually love me?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And that's for me the one of the biggest things for me is that piece.
Yeah.
Do you love me for me? Love
Right.
me for me, like me for me. You know what I'm saying? Not for what I'm dressing, what I'm driving, what I'm providing for you. Like, love me for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that is the biggest thing for me. So I am definitely in a place of, man, this is who I am. You're either gonna be with me or you're not. And if you don't, I don't really care.
Exactly.
That's that's kind of my thing, because I'm just like, look, I'm not an ugly guy. You know what I'm saying? That's how I came to, I'm like, look, I ain't no ugly guy. So you either gonna like me for me or not. You know what I'm saying? So no, that's kind of, I'm like, I'm being for real.
No, it's true. I mean, and I don't know why I'm always thinking like this, because I don't know who's listening, but so what we were talking about, that the Cheesecake Factory situation, is a man was taking a girl out for their first date, and then the girl basically,
like, I'm not getting out of this car. You trying to take me to the Cheesecake Factory?
Right.
Well, who goes to the Cheesecake Factory?
Exactly.
I'm like, well, you can take yourself to wherever you want to go. But if I'm spending money on it, I'm gonna take you.
Exactly. And I just right. I want to. I guess that's the thing too, is that your list, right? I don't know. Do guys don't do that, right? Like, y'all don't have lists for like what you. I mean, it's in your head maybe, but
no, I don't know if we really have lists.
Okay, well, women, I know, and not all women, but I know a lot of women that are, kind of in the dating scene. You may have developed a list, like you've actually written out some things that you expect to find in a mate or whoever's trying to find you, right? Like, these are things that you're saying either they're non-negotiables or, just your desire for a mate. And I I will say that at any point in time, if you're looking at that list and trying to measure up, a man that's interested in you to that list, really be aware of what you have written on that list and why it's there. Like, is it really relevant? Does it really?
And a lot of times it ain't even relevant.
It's not even relevant. Like there are some non-negotiables, but there are some things that you've made a non-negotiable that shouldn't even be, right? And
right.
I mean, we talked about mine, right?
I said your thousand word list.
Man, it was a lot. And I will say that if I had stayed true to that and didn't realize the fallacies in what I'd written, and why I put it on, felt like it needed to be on the list in the first place, we would have never dated. We wouldn't have gotten married. That. So I'm saying that because,
but a lot of times the list comes from past relationships,
past relationships,
or hurt and or things like that. So again, that can move on to the next point I want to talk about. Okay. And that's complete yourself on your own time.
Yes.
Yes. And that comes from healing. Yeah. So we're talking about, healing in the mental aspect of things. So a lot of times, like, speaking to your list, the list comes from a hurt.
Yes.
And so now you're like, well, I don't want to date a man that does this. I don't want to date a woman that does this, or you create, he got to have this, he got to do this, got to have this, or whatever. Right. And so you've created a list out of hurt.
Right.
And so a lot of times that list, the person that's for you, he might fit on one of those things on that list, but you put yourself in this or the person you're looking for in this place where he can't obtain any of that, or she can't obtain any of that stuff, because there's an expectation that you have in your mind, based off of, like for us, one of your things on your list was you can't coach.
Right. Exactly.
I was a coach, and I am a coach. So it was like, I'm like, you almost missed your blessing for real. For real.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Why? I will. So yes, and that, I mean, it's true.
Do you want to touch on your list? some of the things you had on your list?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't even, it was ridiculous. I will say that. Anytime, this is what happened. I updated my list. I had different iterations every time I'd have like a bad experience. So I go, go out on a date with somebody and I'm like, I add the qualities or things that I felt like this is what I noticed here. So the person that I'm going to be with can't be that. So I'm adding that to the list. But yeah, I had like really specific things on there that could really rule you out. And then, traits that I expected to see. But I will say one of the things that I knew, because I didn't rank those things that I listed out, but I knew what I really needed was to make sure that I had, somebody that I felt comfortable with being myself, had fun with, right? Like felt safe with, felt protected with, right? Like, though, to me, that was big, right? And that
Yeah.
you like love me, all of me, flaws and all, and all the other stuff is like it just fades after that, right? If you have those things aligned, then it really doesn't matter about all the other little crazy stuff you might have put on there. Because I think I can't remember if I put something on there about if you've been married before. Like I was being real specific about things, like just like what, like why is that relevant? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you need to be,
goodness.
you should have been married or not married or what? Like, why does that even matter? I mean, but those are things that people really get caught up in, right? I know there may be some that are in the dating world right now that are like, I'm not marrying anybody that's got kids, or I'm not. Well, you could be missing out, right? Because there's really, and we talked about our, blended family, and there's rich relationships that you develop. God may want to use you in that space. And yeah, you may be like, maybe you don't have any kids. So you're like, I can't imagine, being with somebody who has kids when I don't even have kids. And that's something for you to, figure out and sort through. But
Right.
it's definitely not something that should be like a deal breaker.
Right.
Do you have anything? Oh, complete. What did you say?
Complete yourself on your own.
Complete yourself on your own, right? So to that point, if you've watched Jerry Maguire, one of the romantic scenes, right, that everybody was just like, oh, is the "you complete me" thing, right? And it was it sounds good, it's sounds romantic, but it's not realistic, right? I mean, you should never be in a place where you're looking for somebody to complete you.
Right.
You should be complete before you're even in the dating pool.
Yes.
Why are you even looking for somebody and you haven't done your own personal work?
Right.
Now there is a caveat to that, right? Because you do your work on you as much as you can do.
Right.
Alone, right? But there's obviously going to be more work once you're joined with someone, doing life with someone,
Right.
in real time, and like in close proximity.
Yeah, and so you have to, even when you're in a relationship and or married, you have to still take that time to yourself to complete yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to take time to make sure that you're in a space mentally, and just physically,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, a lot of times you might see this in relationships where people just like, well, okay, I got the person now, so I can just kind of let myself go. I still think that you still need to complete yourself on your own. So take time for yourself. I would encourage everybody to take time for yourself. Do that thing that you like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that activity is, do that activity.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, for me, it's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can go play basketball, that just takes away everything for me. So basketball has always been like, I don't want to say it's my refuge and say, I put basketball before God. But basketball has always been a place for me. I can just go to the gym, get shots up, or go actually play.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the outside things that I'm dealing with comes into the gym with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has always been a space for me to where I can just relax and escape some of the things that I might be feeling emotionally or I know after I play, I be aching. I know that, and so my bones be aching. But I love that aspect of it though, because it takes me back to a place to where I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is my way, my escape. And I know for you, you have an escape,
Yeah.
and your escape is dancing.
Yes.
So taking that time to do your thing, whatever your thing is a way to keep yourself healthy and mentally keep yourself in a space of where you're completing yourself. Also just taking time to continue to educate yourself on the things that you might be dealing with. And it's you always want to continue learning, the learning process of a lot of things, of some of the things that you might be feeling. And that's even if you have to go to counseling on your own, because some people might need another person that they can talk to or open up to and get real help. So
and to that point, also, especially if you're thinking about getting married or are married, like marital counseling, marriage counseling is healthy.
Right.
And we've had different stages in our marriage that we've sought out support, even now, right? Because it's just good to have an opportunity to have that sounding board and to be able to, be improving. So that's what you're talking about is like being in a state where you're constantly improving yourself.
Right.
And tapping into what it is that you actually like to do. And I would say I appreciated that even when we were dating, I knew that was something that he was passionate about. It wasn't just coaching. He also liked to, still play and be active in the sport. And so we would, he would play in tournaments and I'd go watch him play in tournaments. I
would be killing folks too.
He really would. Like, I mean, I remember him talking about it and I was just like, okay. You know how people do when they're like, oh, I remember when I was like, okay. But no, he really was. I was like, wow, like you still got it. Okay. But
he still got it.
Even with me, with dancing, like it may not be that what you love to do, your partner loves to do, but being able to create that space to allow for that, to not be upset or jealous or mad when they're engaging in something that they like to do, because guess what? That's who they are. And we need to be able to have those outlets to, get recharged and rejuvenated. And, I appreciate it. You like to dance too. So, we have
cut a rug too.
Times when we can dance together. And, so I think that's healthy to understand.
And then there are times where I just want to go by myself.
Right.
And you want to go by yourself.
Exactly.
And so I think that's the piece that everybody needs to be able to do on their own. And that goes back to having those the next point, healthy and regular communication.
Yes.
So, there are times where I'm like, no, I'm just going to the gym by myself. I just want to be by myself. I want that time to just in fellowship with my friends and, just have it and just kick back a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you sit this one out and I go, so I can just go and just be with the guys, what I'm saying? So, but communicating that is something that you really have to be able to do without the person feeling a certain way.
Right.
And that it goes back to the first point, don't overanalyze everything. So, there were times where you was like, I want to go dancing. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I don't really feel like going dancing.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can go, but I ain't, I don't feel like it right now. So, just having conversations and healthy conversations on a regular, I would say just try to carve out time in any relationship. Try to carve out some time that you all can just sit and talk. Sit and talk and be present with each other. I know that's big for you, being present in the moment and, phones away, not answering phones. Just let us be present. Let's talk to each other. That's one of the biggest things.
It is. And I was, oh gosh, that was something. Even when we were dating, because he's a coach, right? And that's why that was on the list, because I know what comes with that, right? I'm just like, oh my gosh, like we we are out eating, and it's like, I'm so sorry, I gotta take this call. It's like, okay, yep, take the call. But like just being in a place where when you can, unplugging, being present, tapping in, and really being able to, that to me, that's essential for a healthy relationship, is to have healthy communication and to not feel like you're, nah, I'm fifth on the list. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's God and it's us. And then, it's our kids. It's our, so we have to keep that centered in the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, because that, there are times where I felt like, I'm not getting enough attention or something
Yeah.
like that, and you might feel that same way. Um,
Yes.
you might feel that way,
Yeah.
so at times, but but that piece for me with our careers,
Hmm.
so with our careers that I felt like, man, I'm falling lower on this totem pole because your job is keeping you doing this, and this, and you keep thinking about your job, or I'm like, I need some time
Yeah.
with you,
Right. And
and you
so,
felt that way about me at times.
yes, and that communication piece is important because you need to be able to say that, communicate that, as opposed to you just internalizing it and letting it go down this path. It doesn't even have to go down, if you,
And analyzing again.
right.
We're going back to analyzing.
Exactly, exactly. If you just say, this is how I feel,
Right.
then now I can acknowledge that you feel that way and track it back to like, okay, what can I do differently so that you don't feel that way? And that's communication too, because I could have 10 things that I think I could do that would make him not feel that way, and none of them could work.
Right.
So it's better to ask,
Right.
and sometimes you don't even know. Like I remember asking you about, like, well, how do you think? I don't know, and that's cool. Okay, you might not know right now. So then now that's for me to be in a place of like, okay, let me pray about this, ask God to give me insight if there's something I need to be doing differently. Help my husband to be able to understand or know what it is that he needs, right? Like, because that's real. It just happens. And the same with me. I've had, things that I've had to communicate. And at times because I think this is a real thing, right? If you don't have healthy communication, because this is also what not to do, and we've experienced it, where if both of you are in a place where you're like, I'm not getting my needs met and I'm not getting my needs met, so then the person who's the first to say, hey, there, we got a problem, like this isn't working out the way I needed to work out for me, like, then now it's the other person's opportunity to be like, and it's not working out for me either. And so instead of you getting to a place where you're even addressing the first thing that was brought up,
Right.
then now we all just like just putting it all out there, and nothing really gets resolved. And I think that's probably what took us to counseling the first time. The first
Right,
time
because
we were just like,
well,
how do we get past this?
well, I would say for most men we feel that we're not being heard.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say that would be for most men.
Yeah.
Because for most men, we are in a place of providing, protecting, and trying to make sure that who we are with feels absolute love and everything that we want to provide for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, but then there are times where we really don't communicate and we really don't talk. And when we do express ourselves, it's like, okay, this person ain't heard nothing I said to them.
Right.
And,
Right.
Or they don't care. And so we
Right.
can go into this place of analyzing and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they don't care, they're not hearing what I'm saying, they're not meeting my expectations. And then that's when you start having those issues because of that fact of how men feel. And,
Yes.
and I felt that way at times, and not really paying attention to where you were coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I could say that for myself and be honest about that. Like, I know what I needed, but not really hearing where you was coming from at the same time. But I'm like, man, are you even listening? Like, do you hear what I'm saying? Like,
And it's funny, to me, I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that's why I'm telling you, I'm giving you back what you giving me. Like I hear you, and I'm
Right.
bringing it back. Like this is what I feel.
Right.
And but when you do that, it invalidates your feelings because it's like I didn't even really address your hurt, your pain. I'm like, and I got pain too, and this is what it is.
And then
And
I'm
so,
like, and here's my other piece.
exactly.
You know?
And then we just over here building a mess, a tower of mess. And I will say my part of why we're doing this is because we know that alone can cause somebody to be like, I'm getting a divorce.
Yeah, I'm
Like
out of here.
I'm out of here.
Right.
We can count, I mean, how many times, no, we probably cannot count how many times we've, just thrown that out. Like, and that's something I know from training, right? Just kind of don't bring that up. Don't keep, threatening with divorce and
Right.
I can leave. And we all know you can leave. Any you can leave at any point in time.
Right.
That's the reason.
And I'm the kind of person when you say something like that, I'm like, well, congratulations. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But it does.
Like, well, okay.
It takes you there, right? You get to a place where you're, and that's what I'll say it this way. I guess it'll be a better framing. Is that when you love someone and you're walking out a relationship with them, every day you're choosing to love them. Every day you're choosing to respect them.
Right.
And you also have a choice not to. You have a choice not to love. You have a choice not to respect. And you have a choice not to walk away. I mean, not to stay.
Speaking of that, I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
But speaking of that piece, the one thing that we absolutely need as men is respect. We have to have respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. We have to have respect. Like I don't want to hear that you love me. Right. No, I want to hear you respect me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So respect me in my position. Mm-hmm. That's what I need more than you telling me you love me. I would prefer you say, hey, I respect you.
Yeah.
Because most men, the majority of men feel that way. And, men want to feel respected in their relationship over anything else. And I know women want to feel love.
Right.
And how we can't take our expectation of what love is, but because it might be something different for you. Right. And so I'm trying to love you in a way that I feel like you need to be loved, but the communication piece, you would tell me, no, I need to feel love in this particular way. Right. And then now it's on me to be able to express that to you and do that for you. In the same way with me expressing like how I need to feel respected. Right. So that healthy and regular communication is going to be key for your relationship, for any dating relationship, marriage. That's going to be key. You got to be able to have conversations.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought it up. Two quick resources. And if you like to read, if you don't like to read, it's worth getting this knowledge. So even if you have to do it through, Audible and just listen to it. But Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. I think I'm saying this name correctly, but such a great read for couples, whether you're dating, like before you get married, you should read this book, Love and Respect by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. And then the other one is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And of course, there's different iterations of that, like 5 Love Languages for children and what. But the first one, Love and Respect, really breaks down why women need to feel loved and men need to feel respected.
Yeah, and it talks about the cycle, the crazy cycle that like we were just saying, you feel this way, then I say I feel this way, and nobody's listening. So Love and Respect is a great resource that for marriages and engagements. Yeah,
preparing for marriage.
Preparing for marriage.
Because it talks a lot about even deposits and withdrawals, and that's partially why, like if each partner has enough deposits of love and respect, at some point when you feel like something's off and you want to communicate that, then
Right.
now you're having healthier communication.
Right.
But if everybody's depleted, everybody is overdrawn, and you have no love in your tank or respect in your tank, then it's gonna be that firing off all the time. So
Right.
everybody's firing off.
Mhm.
And that applies to your kids too.
Right.
And then the 5 love languages that he just hit on, by Gary Chapman, is helps to teach you a little bit more about how to identify what somebody's love language is. So if he starts like getting me a bunch of gifts and thinks that's him communicating love to me, I'm not receiving it that way. I'm just like,
Right.
thanks, okay, thanks, because that's not my love language. It's probably the lowest on the list for me, but there are other ways that I like quality time.
Right.
So if I'm not getting quality time, then now I start to feel like I'm not receiving that love. Wrapping us back around to the coaching thing, which is why that was also on my list, because I was like, they don't have, like they're scattered with their time. So if that's something I'm saying I really need, then
Right.
that's something that I overanalyzed in my own thinking of my love language and what I needed.
Yeah. So, speaking of like quality time, so quality time is something that I want, that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But it don't have to be us talking. I just want to be around each other.
Right.
We can be sitting on the couch, and I could be on one couch, you could be on one couch. As long as we're in the same area, like I'm cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that right there, you might have a different way of quality time, how you want to spend quality time. And
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because you are that's right. Like you're more about the presence. And for me, it's like I want to talk to you. Like I want to be able to like have deep conversations about things. And
no, and I enjoy having deep conversations too. So
yeah. And I'll say this too, it's just a little interesting thing, right? Because of our schedules and because we're always, have a lot going on,
right.
we do try to prioritize, and we have a little one now, right? So we're not as able to like have date nights especially when you don't have family around,
Right.
In the way that you would want to. But don't limit, think outside the box. You might not be able to have a date night, but you can have lunch dates that was our first date. And so now we try to do that daily, like throughout the week. Make sure that we create time to, if we can. I mean, some days it just doesn't work, but spend time together, have lunch together. And so it's important. It's important.
It is. And so to lead to another point, the next point, express gratitude.
Mm. Yes.
So expressing gratitude.
That's a big one.
Oh man, it's a huge one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say that some of the things, like there's been times where I've been in a space where I am literally making sure that you're good.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm trying to make sure, like, let me do the laundry because her schedule's busy. Yeah. So let me do the laundry. Let me cook, because she's gonna have a short window to do things. Let me make sure I cook and prepare something to make sure that you and the family are eating, even though I know I'm about to walk out the door.
Right.
As soon, because of my schedule. And so, and then there were times where I felt like, man, she's not even paying attention to what I'm doing on a daily basis. I'm like, right. But then you would come back and you're like, hey, I appreciate you for doing this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, okay, well, she did notice. You know what I'm saying? So and I could just like again analyze that, overanalyze that, and be like, dang, man, she don't appreciate nothing.
And then the women can do this too if you get into a space of where a lot of it has to do with how you were raised, right? Like I saw my dad doing things that I felt like, okay, that's what a man's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like it's snowing, my dad's gonna clean off the car. You know what I mean? Like that's what he does. I didn't necessarily, say, thank you, Dad, for cleaning off the car. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of one of those things where we start to think, you're doing something that's like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Like that's and even those things need to be recognized.
Right.
Right. And you'll hear that little voice where it's just like, don't nobody say nothing to you when you washing the dishes. Don't nobody say doesn't matter. Right. Like, that is what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to like help build our partners up, even in the little things. So fight the voice of, that's arguing with you saying you don't need to do it because it's not being done for you.
Right.
It's like, no, you need to do that. Like, I remember you sharing that with me, like, just it does something for you, right? Where you're just like, oh, you're recognizing. I'm not doing it for you to recognize. I'm doing it because it needs to be done, but I'm glad you recognize it.
Right.
So.
And I've done that for you.
Yeah.
Because I was just like thinking one day, and I was just like, man, I don't think I said I appreciate her for what she just, what she's done the last couple of days. And then so I had to come, I'm like, oh, let me express this, because I know that's how I felt at one point. And so it's like, you want to deposits and withdrawals.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So
treat people how you want to be treated.
Right.
And
right. And so I know expressing that gratitude for what you've done for me, and I know that you enjoyed that. You know what I'm saying? So you appreciated that, and because people want to feel acknowledged.
Yeah.
People want to feel seen.
Yes.
Especially in marriage situations and dating situations that the other person wants to.
And that's where the enemy can really come into your marriage and destroy and uproot and everything you're trying to build, is when you're not getting it within.
Right.
But people giving it to you outside of your home. You know what I mean?
Right,
like, it's somebody, that's go recognize and be like, oh, like, thank you for holding that door for me. You see what I'm saying? I said it like an old cougar out here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
like, God, dog, what is...
I'm just saying, it can happen. It happens, right? Or women, we've experienced it, right? You out in your most humbled self at the gas station, at the grocery store, and here's somebody, man.
Let me get that. Let me pump that gas for you.
Let me, and then
let me pump the gas.
Exactly. And if your tank isn't full,
where your man at? Your man ain't pumping your gas.
If your love tank isn't full, then you might entertain that, right?
Paul, if you don't get away from me.
Well, you man, let me pump that gas for you.
It is true.
Your man shouldn't be having you out here like that.
Exactly.
Man, get away from me.
Oh my God.
Man, if you don't get you,
it's true.
Get you and your Social Security away from me, man. Like, what's going on?
It's so true, though.
Hey, they'll get. Hey,
they out here.
Hey, they'll get some people.
They out here.
They'll get some people.
Or sliding into your DMs.
They'll get some people.
Inboxing.
Oh, man.
That happens. So you gotta come on.
Express the gratitude.
Yes.
Express the gratitude
on a regular basis,
because it goes a long way.
And you just win. Because that's another thing too. I think sometimes with men, for sure, that you feel like you won. Okay, I got her. And like, you ain't got to do nothing else. You ain't got to do nothing else that you were doing in order to get her. I got her. No, that's not how this works. So
it's a constant cycle. It's a constant cycle. So you got to constantly be expressing gratitude. So the takeaways today, I would just say, don't overanalyze everything.
Mm-hmm.
Complete yourself on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Regular and healthy communication, and express gratitude.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Well, I hope you got something from it. As always, please like, share, subscribe. For real. Like, if you're listening to this and it's blessing you, please share it with somebody else, because they might need it too. So we appreciate you.
Be a blessing to somebody else.
That's it. All right. Love y'all.